give a thumbs up and provide a comment, and subscribe if you'd like to see more of this content. Good morning. This video is going to be a little different. Today we're going to be doing some baby back ribs on the Webber Smokey Mountain, as well as some pastrami. So we're going to go ahead and get that ready. I know this is not a wood turning video, but unfortunately I didn't get anything turned this week, so I'm going to reach out to a new audience. So just a little explanation here. I've got pastrami. Well, what I have is a brisket that is flat, and I actually cured this. I used Morton Quick Tender, which is a nitrate, to cure it. I cured it for probably a week, maybe a little longer than I needed to, but in a mixture of Morton's Quick Cure, pickling spice, and sugar in a liquid brine, and I cured that in the fridge, like I say, for about a week. So that is a cured brisket. So that's going on, and that will be cooked on the Webber like a regular brisket, but when you smoke cured meat, then you end up with a pastrami. We're going to go ahead and put some pastrami peppery spices on this here in a second. And I'm also going to get the baby back ribs prepared. First thing I'll do is I'll go ahead and remove the membrane. To remove the membrane, I just take a spoon and go along in the middle, along the back and the bone. This membrane is tough. You do not want to leave it on. You wouldn't be very chewy, difficult to eat, so you want to remove it. So again, I just remove it, use a spoon, and then do it in the middle, and then you can slide your fingers in both directions, and the membrane should come off fairly well in one piece. There you go, membrane is removed. I'll do it to this piece, and then we'll come back and do the spices. So I had my spices prepared. I just went online and found a recipe for spice for my baby back ribs. It's a combination of salt, pepper, paprika, cumin, garlic powder. One thing I like about finding a recipe online and doing it yourself, you can control what you like. For example, I'm not a big fan of cumin. I find I put a little bit of cumin in it, everything tastes like cumin. So I cut the cumin way back according to the recipe. If you just go out and buy one off the shelf, which there are lots, you have no control over what you like or don't like. So I like to make it myself. So that's for the baby back rib. For the pastrami, it's again coarse pepper, paprika, and coriander seeds. And I ground the coriander, and brown sugar. I ground the coriander seeds up in a mortar and pestle. I bought whole, and I just put them through the mortar and pestle. You can buy them already ground, but I find they're a little fine. So I'm going to go ahead and get the pastrami ready to go, because it's going to take a bit longer, and then we'll come back and do the baby backs. So there's the pastrami. It's coated fairly well. I put as much on as I could, pressed it in, so I have a nice thick crust on the pastrami once it's cooked. So we'll go ahead and get the Webber Smokey Mountain fired up, and I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start to light up my Webber Smokey Mountain. So the first thing I'm going to do is put some briquettes on it. I'm going to put just a little over a chimney and a half. So I'm going to go ahead, and this is what I refer to as a chimney. It's used to light the barbecue, which you can also measure briquettes with. And I'm just using Kingsford charcoal briquettes here. So So that's one chimney there. I'll just go ahead and dust these in. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to arrange these kind of in a circle around the outside in a donut pattern, leaving the center fairly open. So I'll just bring the camera over so you can see that. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to light the chimney here. I'll set it on here, light another chimney full, and pour those hot coals down in on top of those. So I'll go ahead and do that now. So I just use the Webber starter cubes here. I'll go ahead and light those up, and then we'll put the chimney on top of it. Make sure they're burning well. And then I'll go ahead and put the chimney on top, and we'll wait till we see the flames coming out of that. Once we do, we'll pour those hot coals in on top of this, and then reassemble the barbecue. And then once that's done, we'll go ahead and put the brisket on the grill. So again, the brisket is just a corned beef. Sorry, the pastrami is just a corned beef. That's the only difference. You're going to cook it the exact same way that you normally would cook a brisket, and then you slice it thin, and generally you eat it cold in sandwiches. Again, the pastrami typically has these coriander and coarse pepper crust on the outside, but other than that, you cook it like you normally would. So once I see flames coming out of my chimney here, not just smoke, but some flames, I'll go ahead, like I say, and pour that chimney over into my unlit coals. And then today I'm using mesquite wood chunks, and I'll put 4 or 5 of those around the outside. And I can do that now, actually. I'll go ahead and set them in place. Now, for the Smoky Mountain, I've got my water dish, and actually I'm doing ribs, and they don't call for water in the water bowl. The brisket does, so I may put a little bit of water in, just kind of a compromise, because I'm doing 2 things here. I'm cooking the pastrami or brisket, and I'm cooking the baby back ribs, both at the same time on the grill. As I mentioned, the pastrami is going to take a little bit longer, so I'm going to put it on first. Then I'll go prepare the ribs, and then come back and put the ribs on. The ribs are going to take about 5 hours, so we won't put those on until around 11. So we're going to go ahead now and pour this chimney over. It's been running for quite a while, and I can see flames under there, so I'll just go ahead and pour that in. There you can see that I've got lots of lit briquettes there. Now, I did put some water in my water bowl, as I mentioned. Not a lot, but just a little, just to compromise. And get rid of these 2. Now, for the pastrami, I will be using the thermometer, so I have it in here now. I'm going to set that over to the side, so I've got lots of room for my baby backs when I put those on. So I'll put that temperature probe in the meat. Go ahead and put the cover on. For the cover, I want the top one open all the way. And for now, I'm going to open up the bottom all the way as well till I get up to temperature. And then, actually, I'm going to keep them, I'll open them up about halfway until I get up to temperature, and then I'll probably end up adjusting them back a third. So there, they're halfway now. Actually, you can see the temperatures coming up fairly quickly, so we'll go ahead and leave that for now. I probably will not be taking the cover off for, other than to put the baby backs on, for a few hours. I've got the temperature on the meat anyway, so I know what it is. The baby backs I'm going to put on, and I don't need to look at those for 3 hours. So that's what we'll do. We'll just let this go here now, and we'll go ahead and start preparing the baby backs, and then it'll be about an hour and hour and a half before I put those on. So we'll go ahead and get ready for the baby backs. So we're going to go ahead and get the baby backs ready to go in the barbecue. So I'm going to go ahead and start. I'm going to put just some regular mustard on both sides of the baby backs. I've got 2 racks here that I'm going to do. You don't really taste the mustard on the ribs, but it gives you a base for the spices to stick to. So if you remember, I removed the membrane from this side. First I patted them down to dry them off, then I removed the membrane. And like I say, now I'll go ahead and get the mustard on, and then we'll put the spices on. And I'm going to count on these cooking unattended on the Smoky Mountain for 3 hours, untouched. I won't open the grill, I'll just put them on and leave them. And then when that's done, then I'll start spritzing them every half hour. So pretty generous with the spices. Probably don't need as much on the bottom. I mean, you're not going to be eating this part obviously, but it will permeate into the meat. I'll be a little more generous on this side. Now this spice rub that I have on here has sugar in it, so it's going to help create a crust on the ribs. It'll caramelize. Here, just pat it in as much as I can. They look good. They're going to be ready to go on to the grill. The baby backs on. Going to be a full grill. I'm just going to move this guy so I can lay the baby backs a little straighter. There, that should be good. There, so it's 11 o'clock now, so I'm going to leave these go for 3 hours without touching them. I'll just keep an eye on this temperature here. Again, keep it around 225. I'm not going to touch anything for 3 hours. By that time, the pastrami should, as it heats up, it gets hotter, and then it stalls, and the temperature holds for a period of time, then it starts to climb again. It'll probably be another 3 hours before it comes out of the stall, so everything should be fine for 3 hours. I will watch the temperatures just from the outside, but everything should be fine. And then at that point, I'll start spritzing it. Okay, the temperature of the brisket is actually up over 200 degrees, so it's only been in there for a little over 3 hours. So I'm surprised, just a little over 2.5 hours, so I'm surprised it's up that high. I'm going to take it off anyways, and I'm going to wrap it, and then I'm going to put it back on. You can see there it's got a really nice crust on it, so that's good. We're looking for that. The ribs are looking good as well, but they've got a while to go yet. Another hour before I do anything with them. So let's go ahead and we'll wrap this pastrami up in paper, and then we'll put it back on the grill. So I've taken the pastrami and I've wrapped it in butcher's paper. I also spritzed it with apple juice. So I just put apple juice in a sprayer and gave it a good spraying. So we're going to go ahead, put the temperature probe back in this and put it back on the grill. And I see my temperatures continuing to climb, so I'm going to close those dampers back. Almost up to 275, which is a little too hot. Your baby back ribs are looking good though. Okay, we've been 3 hours for the baby backs. Temperature has started to drop a bit, I noticed. I'm down to 200, so I've opened the vents back up. Usually you don't have to make a lot of adjustments, but it is starting to rain outside, so that may be cooling it down a bit. I'm not sure. No, I still have lots of briquettes left, so that shouldn't be an issue. So I'll just open the vents up a little bit more, get a little more air in, that'll bring the temperature back up. The temperature on the pastrami is 192, so that's pretty consistent. So now we're at the 3 hour mark, so I'm going to start spritzing the baby backs every half hour. So this will be the first one. You can see they're starting to get a bit of a crust on it, so that looks really good. What you want to see is that bit of a crust starting to form on the ribs themselves. So that's it. Every half hour I'll do that, and that'll probably go for another 2 hours. So we have a bit of a problem. It's gotten too windy for my camera on the stand, so I'm just going to have to hold it by hand. So I do apologize for that. But we're ready to remove the pastrami. It's going to go wrapped in the cooler to continue cooking. I'm going to go ahead. So it's been 6 hours for the pastrami, but its temperature internally is 190. It's been up as high as 195, so it's good. So it's coming off. Baby backs have been on for 5 hours, and I'm going to sauce those and then leave them on for another half hour, 45 minutes. And I'm also going to make beans, so I'm just using canned beans. I've got them in a crock pot. I'm going to put them on the grill without a cover so that they can pick up some smoke flavor. I'm hoping they're going to fit on the grill. I'm not 100% sure they will. Well, let's go ahead and do that. Again, I apologize for the camera. So here's the pastrami in this bag, and again it's looking really good. So that's going to go inside there. You can see the baby backs again, they look good. You can see also they're starting to pull back here from the bones, so that's a good sign, and they're falling apart, so that's a good sign as well. So they're definitely cooked there now. So I'm going to go ahead. I can find a way to get both the beans and the ribs on at the same time. Just 1 second, I'm going to put the camera. So what I've done, I've just rearranged them a little bit. I put the beans in the crock in the middle, and I'm just going to let them warm up. Again, they're just canned beans, but I wanted to pick up a bit of the smoke flavor. And I arranged the baby backs around the outside here so everything will fit on. And I'm going to leave the cover off the beans so again they pick up a bit of the smoke flavor. Putting the sauce on now, let them sit for another half hour. That just lets the sauce caramelize. I'm just going to add a little bit more. Don't be afraid to lather this on. It can be fairly thick. Good news is, like I mentioned there, when I was moving the ribs around, they were starting to fall apart, so they're definitely tender. So that's good. And I think when I was moving them, I saw them crack open, and it looked like there was a bit of a smoke ring on the ribs, which is good. Good to see. So I'm going to put the cover back on, let that sit for a half hour. And here you see some cornbread that I've made. I make it in the skillet, bake it in the oven, and it's definitely a crowd favorite. And here's the finished product. You can see the ribs had a nice crust on them and caramelization from the sauce. And as I cut them open, you can also see that they've developed quite a nice smoke ring on the inside. And here's the pastrami that I cooked up. I cut it as thin as I could, and again, I'm going to save this to eat cold. Thank you for watching this week's video. Again, I didn't get a bowl turned this week, but I will be posting some more hopefully soon. And if you'd like to see those videos and possibly more smoker videos, then please subscribe.